Hello, welcome to TAM Talks, where we discuss the greatest challenges that museum and cultural leaders are facing today. In this episode, I am talking with David Shields, who is the Executive Director of the Pioneer Museum in Fredericksburg. Welcome, David.
Hello, welcome, Alex.
Okay, let's get started. Can you let us know how you got into museum work? We know it's not always a direct path.
That's right. And I know that for personally, because I switched over from a career in education. I had been involved in higher education for about 20 years. But the theme that was the same is that I like to tell stories. And starting off my career as a pretty young professor, I'd apply for adjuncting positions, and people would say, well, we need someone to teach World War I. And then someone would say, I need someone to teach Cold War economics. And someone else would say, well, we need someone to teach a general survey of US history. And they say, can you do it? I said, yes. And I would say this all the time, no matter what school it was in the area I was living in, the New York City area. And at one time I was adjuncting at 3 different universities at the same time, taking the train and doing all this stuff. And what I found out that I just like to tell stories. And so as time went on, I wanted to get out of the stricture of just the university setting and meet the global audience, the general public. And so that's what kind of motivated me to do that. And since then, I have been at museums where we focused on the 17th century, the 18th century, the 20th century. And so what brings it all together is storytelling. It's exciting to go back into time as a time traveler to see how other people live. And that's what makes it fun. So that's what motivates me.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I love a good story too. And I think museums are a really great place to kind of bring those stories to life, because you actually have spaces and things to liven that story up. So tell us a little bit about the Pioneer Museum. I know that you've been in Fredericksburg for a few years, but this is a new role for you.
That's right. I was I came to Fredericksburg from Massachusetts in the end of 2018 as the Education and Museum Programs Director at the National Museum of the Pacific War, which is, I know people say this across the street when you're getting somewhere, but it is across the street and down just a little ways. And I love doing that role, and an opportunity developed here, and I applied for it. And so I came here in September, about 6 or 7 months ago now. And I have just been so excited to connect to the stories of the German immigrants and their stories connected to the volatile and exciting time in European history, where the great philosophical tension between liberal and conservatism, it was playing out. We sometimes think that's an American phenomenon in the last few years, but that has been going on for hundreds of years. And the Germans that came here were left of center. They were progressives. We sometimes may not appreciate that, but they did not want to stay in that traditional conservative role. They wanted to teach themselves to read and write. They wanted to do whatever jobs they wanted to do. They didn't want to be dependent on agriculture being owned by someone else. They were entrepreneurs, they were shopkeepers, they were highly skilled people. And they saw an opportunity to come to America. So as so many other immigrants have seen that, and they came here. So that's the core of our story. And as we go on, we're embellishing that story to make the scope more true to all of the accounts here, which includes the Native people and the Hispanic people and the other ethnic groups that are part of the history of developing this community.
Great. So in this program, we talk about a little bit about challenges. What are some of the challenges you're facing at your museum?
You know, I've heard someone say before that unlike other museums around the world, we don't have one central processing unit, a Ministry of Culture or History that tells everybody else what to do. You know, the United States is much more fragmented. It's really based on communities. So and I think this is true, probably you've seen this too, Alex, in your travels around this huge state, which was once a country, and it's big enough to be a country today. Is that there are so many different variations throughout the state, and pulls and pushes about what people want. And I think that one of the things I find here is it's a healthy tension between traditionalists who are very comfortable about what they see and the stories they hear. It's like being a child and you hear those songs when you get older in life, or a story being repeated. You don't want any of it to change because that's what you're used to, and you're safe and comfortable. But there's also another group of people who want to make sure that that story is complete, that no parts are taken out, but that the truth includes more voices. And so I think one of the challenges I have is being a part of the leadership team here, listening to what the community wants, but all those voices, and then coming up with innovative and inspiring ideas that allow for our community to hear more of those stories. So I think that's my challenge.
Right. Well, I know that you're a really big innovator in the few years that I've known you. And so, I know that you're going to bring a lot of new energy to the Pioneer Museum and really help to build on those stories. So tell me a little bit more about what the Pioneer Museum is doing well.
What it does well, I think what it does, number one, very well, it does listen to the community. One of the most important things is not to think of a museum as a school where we teach you, that we have a curriculum and you come here and we tell you what we want you to know. A modern museum does not do that. It's very responsive to what the public, its community wants. And so we're developing a new webpage that will integrate much more, many more surveys in that system. So we're always reaching out, what you want, what you want. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not trained with modern interpretive narratives, that we know our archives, we know our historic sites, we know the dates, we know the names, and we can provide that information, and we lace that in there. One of the first things we say is, hey, welcome, why are you here today? What would you like to know today? And that really starts a conversation. So it's bilateral, it's not a lecture, it's not a one-way message, as sometimes happens in school when you need that curriculum taught. So I think one of the key things is that we do here is we listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same here at TAM. It's big surveys and focus groups. It really helps shape how we move forward on our programming. So really have that in common with you. All right. So last question, is anything else you'd like to share with us and our viewers today?
Well, yeah, one of the fun things is with a small museum and a very small staff, we are pressed how to get things done. So if you're in a local community and you have the time, always be willing to listen to your community, your museum, and their call to action. Volunteers, we always need volunteers. Here at this museum, we have roles for costume interpreters. We have people who could work in our archives and go through all these amazing old photographs and newspapers. We have people who could work in administrative work. We have beautiful gardens and we need gardeners. There's so many fun things to do here. So I would say be responsive to us and to your own local museum. And also, when you're a small organization, you don't often have a lot of hands to get things done. So you have to leverage, I guess, your brain, what your body can't do. So we're doing a lot of, we're trying to use good modern software systems that help integrate our interaction with memberships and admissions. So it's all consolidated and it's more efficient. And I think one of the other things that we like to do is use that technology to share our stories. So please keep an eye out on us in the next couple of weeks or so when we roll out our new webpage and all of our new 3D virtual tours. We never, not even if you can get to the museum, sometimes there are challenges getting into these small little historic antique buildings that we have. And what we've done is we've created a virtual tour for every single one of our buildings. So that if you can't get in there, you can scan a QR code and you can watch that video. And if you have, if you can't see very well or that's a challenge, we have all of our signs are completely in Braille so people can take advantage of that. And the last thing I would say, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this, is that we're coming up on our 175th anniversary of the founding of Fredericksburg. And so if you are anywhere near us, and I know Texans, that means 4-hour drive. It's a little different from Vermont, where I'm from. That would be like covering 3 states. But we are, I think, May 7th, 8th, and 9th, that whole week, We are celebrating with events with the parade and events here, all free events here at our museum, where all activities that kids and families can do: rope making. We're going to be doing candle making, and we're going to have a blacksmith here, and you can actually get in there in our blacksmith shop and you can make things. So I would just encourage you to look at our webpage, look at all the great fun events we have planned from here all the way through May, celebrating the great story of the Germans coming here and the wonderful people that they met to help them along the way.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Yeah, I got a chance to see some of those 3D renderings, and I'm really impressed at being able to provide greater access to those that may be able to have mobility issues and can't make it into some of those buildings in such high definition, way more than a Google Maps where you're progressing down a road. This is really an interactive virtual space that I'd love for more people to see. And if you're making your travel plans for May 7th, 8th, and 9th, Fredericksburg, well, on behalf of TAM, I want to thank you for joining us today, David, and good luck with getting your website launched.
Thank you very much, Alex.
All right, goodbye.
Goodbye.